In the world of watches, the recent ebb and flow of prices isn't just a fluctuation. It's a seismic shift that could redefine the way timepieces shape our lives. Now, the million-dollar, or should I say million-franc question is, what's the deal with watch brands in the next 10 to 20 years? Are they aiming for a VIP club that only the mega-rich can join? And could us watch enthusiasts actually turn this situation into a win? You see, there's a trend that shines as brightly as a Daytona rainbow, the production of more luxurious timepieces. According to the FHH, there's been a cool 16% surge in watches, with an export value topping $3,470 in 2022 compared to the previous year. Looking back to 2019, it's like watching the average export value of a Swiss watch skyrocket by over 50%, soaring from a modest $150 to a staggering $1,740. Have you guys noticed how luxury watch prices are on a non-stop ride to the top? It's like they're breaking altitude records, and at the same time, it seems like fewer folks are hopping on the watch buying bandwagon compared to a couple of years ago. First, let's get into the money talk. When there's a price tag, suddenly, we're all amateur financial analysts, questioning if we can swing it or if it's just too good to be true. We expect a bang for our buck, right? However, as watch prices keep skyrocketing, we're all hoping the quality gets a boost too. Sadly, that's not always the case. It's throwing us watch enthusiasts for a loop. Higher prices don't always mean better quality, and let's face it, for many of us, it's getting tough to justify dropping big bucks on these timepieces. The way things are going, it might put a bit of a damper on our watch-loving vibes in the long haul. Isn't it wild how the watch industry's been on this pendulum swing of highs and lows? Let's rewind to a few years back. We saw this crazy surge and then a sudden drop in different parts of the watch world. First off, from 2020 to 2022, things got pretty wild in the retail scene. You see, big-name brands were going all out, trying to one-up each other, aiming for that ultimate status symbol vibe. Now, remember that global event that shook things up a while back? Yeah, that's when things really kicked into high gear. Suddenly, it felt like everybody and their grandma was trying to snag a piece of the watch action, mainly to flip them for a profit on the grey market. For us die-hard watch fans, it was like trying to catch a rare Pokemon, frustrating as heck. It felt like our dream watches were slipping through our fingers, snatched up by folks looking to make a quick buck. Not cool, right? Some folks were just in it for the cash grab, totally cramping our style and making it way harder for us to score those coveted timepieces we'd been eyeing for ages. I mean, every hotshot watch model was flying off the shelves for crazy markups, like double, triple, even quadruple the original price. It was like a game of how high can it go? But of course, deep down, we all knew what goes up must come down eventually. The whole scene was booming, and those big-name brands couldn't churn out their star watches fast enough. Cue the frenzy and panic as they struggled to keep up with the demand. And let's talk about those rival brands. It was like a showdown of who could slap the trendiest colored dial on their timepieces, with Tiffany blue stealing the spotlight. Sure, it got a bit tiring seeing everyone following the same playbook, but hey, it did give us a clear picture of what folks were after. Brands were scrambling to deliver what the people wanted, but then, out of the blue, someone hit the brakes as we cruised from 2022 and 2023. Those sky-high resale prices? Yeah, they took a nosedive, landing back down to earth at just 20 to 40% above retail. So while the bubble didn't pop, it sure lost some air. Let's take a quick pit stop before diving into the next chapter. Remember what Siane Berneron said last year? She dropped a truth bomb about the watch industry being under some serious supply stress. And guess who's getting the side eye for this? Yep, none other than the Apple Watch. It's been accused of bulldozing the low-end market, leaving some notable brands in the dust. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Patek Philippe and crew are still riding high, riding that pandemic-fueled wave of luxury watch love that's been building for years. And speaking of unexpected twists, let's talk about Jean-Claude Biver. He initially saw the Apple Watch as the Swiss watch industry's arch-nemesis, but then he did a complete 180. Now he's all about giving props where they're due, suggesting that maybe the Swiss watchmakers should pat Apple on the back for every watch they sell. Who would have thought, right? All right, let's flip back to the flip side of the story. Now, brands caught wind that their watches were like hotcakes on the resale market, and they weren't about to let that cash flow slip through their fingers. Cue the brainstorming sessions on how to rejig their pricing strategies. Some even went as far as setting up fancy, certified pre-owned programs to keep tabs on the demand and hype around their pieces. It was all about cashing in on the craze, especially when they couldn't keep their goodies on the shelves. Plus, they had this itch to jack up their prices, all in the name of projecting that luxe image they were going for. If everyone else was doing it, why not join the party? It was like a game of keeping up with the Joneses, but with watches. Quickly enough, it seems like snagging a luxury watch from the big leagues these days means you're dropping a minimum of 5,000 units of whatever currency you're rocking, be it pounds, euros, or dollars. Not to forget, these brands are tossing in price hikes of 5%, 10%, or even 15% every few quarters, making it rain with inflation, rising production costs, and plans for more factories. All of this was cool when everyone was buzzing about watches, but now the hype train's slowing down, and these brands are feeling the pinch after splurging big bucks. Here's the real talk. These luxury watches and their brands are flexing too hard, and not everyone's feeling the urge to empty their pockets for them anymore. Did you know that nearly 29 out of 30 people you pass on the street are rocking an Apple Watch? Yeah, you heard that right. So what's the Swiss watch industry and luxury timepieces going to do in a world where almost everyone's wrist bling is a tech marvel and we're bombarded with flashy new releases every year boasting futuristic materials and gizmos? Let's pick the Omega as a case in point. Back in the day, what made Omega the cool kid on the block was their top-notch watches that didn't break the bank. You could snag one with killer movements, fancy tech, basically, a sweet deal that didn't dent your wallet as much as Rolex. As enthusiasts, we were living the dream. But then, they dropped the 3861 caliber bomb, the standard Speedmaster move, and decided to pump up the retail prices by a cool 15 to 20%. We're not talking limited editions or one-of-a-kind gems here. I mean, remember when a top-notch Speedmaster with the 1863 or 1861 caliber was just a few grand? Now it's like a race among brands to match the grey market prices, trying to rake in more money bags with each sale. Some are building new factories, cranking out watches to meet our never-ending appetite. But then you've got those lost brands, throwing strategies at the wall without a clear game plan. For many of us, these new retail prices are just too rich for our blood. It's like a reality check time for these brands. Pump up the prices too much, especially the big shots. However, they might find themselves with more watches sitting on shelves than on wrists. And that's not just bad news for the next gen of watch fans, but for the whole dang industry. Time for a reality check, indeed. As we navigate this timepiece terrain, I want to hear your thoughts. Are you feeling the pinch in your pocket as prices keep climbing, or do you see it as a natural evolution in the watch game? And what about the Apple Watch? Is it really the disruptor shaking up the Swiss watch industry, or can traditional watchmakers hold their ground? Before you click away, make sure to hit that like button if this journey through the watch market resonated with you. Don't forget to subscribe because, hey, we're always exploring exciting stories in the world of watches, and you don't want to miss out. As we wrap up, thanks for joining the conversation. And remember, whether you're rocking a classic timepiece or the latest tech marvel on your wrist, time waits for no one.